Live from the Captain Black Fishing Studios, you are watching the Garnet Old Show. No inside info, no contacts, no problem. I'm Ryan. That is Mr. Vincent Chigaretti. Vince, how are you today?
I'm doing great, Ryan. You went to the promo immediately. I appreciate that. So we make sure we get it in. Ryan, you are
Absolutely.
with the gold background again.
I like. Do you like the gold background?
I do like the gold background, but it's different than what you have been doing. So Ryan is live from the minimalist Captain Black Fishing Studios in Central Florida, and I am here in Northeast Florida.
Yeah.
Captain Black is your charter fishing guru if you are looking for some offshore fishing in the Gulf of Captain Black out of Panama City Beach, Florida. He does a great job. He's always posting stuff on social with all of the stuff they're catching. So you should check that out. And if you're looking for some offshore fishing in that area of the state, look him up and let him know Big Papa East sent him and VC Noles sent you.
And if you, like me, are a fan of trash TV, like Love is Blind, I am sporting the Love is Blind wine glass tonight,
That's awesome. That's very nice, Ryan. A way you could support Ryan's wine habit is you could subscribe to the channel.
I would love, Vince, I would love, nothing would make me happier than to have my actually wine subscription company, Cooper's Hawk, which is in Florida here. I don't know if it's elsewhere, but it's a steak, chicken and wine kind of place. And we pay for their 2-bottle a month plus 2 free tastings for $25 a month.
Ryan, I think you should reach out to them and see if they would like to become a sponsor.
Their product is good. Their food is good. Their wine is excellent. And their tastings, Vince, when you go there, you get about 4 or 5 flights for each person in your group as part of the tastings per month, and then the 2 bottles. So 2 bottles of wine plus tastings for $25 a month. That's less than if you go to Publix and get like 1 bottle or 2 bottles,
Yeah, that's not bad at all. I'm not much of a wine drinker, although for Valentine's Day this past week, Shannon and I decided not to go out. We decided to do something here at the house, and we did the homemade fondue night.
Yeah.
Well, think like the melting pot, but like at your own house, right? So we did all that, and that's a wine kind of event, right?
Mm-hmm.
So I had probably the most wine I've ever had in my whole life in one sitting, and I enjoyed it. I had a really great time. It's not typically something I would do, but it was nice. So I was trying to get here and just say, subscribe to the channel. We've been steady plateau right where we're at. We've been there for a while now, and I know a lot of it has to do with the way the season went. But now things are starting to pick up again. Make sure you share the channel out to your Seminole friends and also maybe some rivals. Share it to them too, especially Miami folks. We would love to have them in here. If you're looking for other ways to support us, there are memberships on YouTube, and I am going to. I could probably gift another 5 memberships tonight because we're almost to the end of the month. So we're going to do that. You can also super chat, and there's our Venmo there as well. So
speaking of memberships, Vince and I, for our members this past week, went about an hour 20 on our favorite movies and TV shows, top 10 lists in the channel. So if you were either already subscribed as a member, we're given a membership, or maybe you get a membership soon, if you headed onto our channel, check that video out. I would say I had more fun than I even thought I would have. It was a good time talking about it.
Yeah, we did have a great time, and there were some of the things that we were in line with, and some other things I think you surprised me, and I think I surprised you with some stuff.
Of course, yeah.
But, these are the kind of things that Ryan and I would chat about when we were actually working in the same office
Hmm.
together years ago, and so it would always we would tend to gravitate toward, you know, pop culture, movies, TV shows, of course, sports,
Hmm.
um, and those types of things. So I had a good time with that. We did go a little long.
Let's shout out some of our followers. Mike Bart's in the chat. Good to see you again. And then Tomcat, of course, as always. Tomcat's a loyal follower of the Garnet Old show, talking about inshore fishing on the Gulf of America. It's still weird to say that it's on the maps now. So
Yeah. I
Gulf of
will not say it. I think it's ridiculous. I don't care. I don't care, who came up with that idea. It's just dumb to me, and, I will refer to it as the Gulf of everything else now.
yeah.
So,
Someone said
The Gulf
it's.
of Captain Black.
I saw a meme the other day because there's so many. It's a very meme thing, right?
Yeah.
I saw the meme, the America Triangle instead of Bermuda Triangle,
Right,
and it
right.
showed like bald eagles falling into the sea. Like,
That's
so,
awesome.
now, Vince, we're going to get into some Florida State type topics, college football. One thing I wanted to ask you, Vince, because we always tend in these off-season shows to be a little bit, like we say, loosey goosey and having a little bit of fun. I was thinking, and we can start this tonight after our topics around college football. We're in the off season where we're not heavily covering, Florida State football season, where we each bring one topic, a random topic of discussion for the second half of the show, and it can be anything,
Okay. And
just
we
to have
don't
fun.
and we don't we don't tell each other what it is, or we
We
do?
don't tell each other what it is
Mm,
because the surprise factor of like, oh, that's interesting. Let's talk about it. And I was,
yeah.
because there's just not that much college football and Florida State talk right now, especially with no spring game. That I am still disappointed about no spring game. I understand why. I totally get it. I'm not mad about it, but I'm disappointed. And now you see Texas canceling their spring game for other reasons. But I thought it'd be fun because a lot of times we end up doing that anyways. But now we can kind of have maybe a built-in 20-minute segment at the end of the show around like, hey, let's each bring our topic of discussion for the week.
Yeah, I like that a lot, and, you know, there are a number of things that, we could probably throw at each other that would kinda throw each other off a little
Yeah,
bit, so it'll be fun. That'll be a fun thing to do. We can do that. So we'll start that, maybe tonight, maybe next week, but, we got a number of things to go over tonight. Looks like we got Brett Taylor in the house tonight as well.
good to see you, Brett. Yeah, I think the topic du jour right now is I'm gonna call it inbreeding of conference talk. I think that's a good way to put it, where you have all these power conferences, the power, two really, um, making strategic moves that they claim is for the good of their member institutions or college football as a whole, about moving to a 9-game schedule and automatic bids, and there's all this. I call it clever positioning and turn of phrase that they say it's for one reason, and their hearts, it's the good right thing to do. But in reality, what I think we're seeing is the slow decay of a true college football playoff or pageant, and into it's officially a pageant, only representing a very small minority of college football. What do you think?
Yeah, that's what that's what it's going toward. I mean, it was already very difficult for, schools that, maybe don't have the pedigree, don't have the backing, don't have the fan support. It was already difficult enough for them to even, not even get a seat at the table, Ryan,
Yeah.
just to be just to be within the same gated neighborhood.
Hmm.
It was tough. the more this goes down the road that it's going to be less and less likely for, a Cinderella type of thing to happen. By the way, I don't know if you're noticing my camera flickering or not.
No, you look good.
That's happening. Okay, something's weird here, but um, so I'm not good with that either. And the fans of teams, and we know some of them, the fans of some teams that are from a more G5 type league, or maybe a league that maybe wasn't looked on as highly, have been upset about this for decades, man.
Yeah.
And I, I'm not just now coming into that. By the way, I've always felt that way, and I've always felt that, wow, it's really great that Florida State is in one of the power leagues, because I'm not going to discount that as a blessing. Like, it's good to be where you're at.
Right.
But what's happening now is, the league we're in, as you know, and everyone knows, is being relegated to an also ran league. When we are not an also ran program, and Clemson's not an also ran program, and Miami
Yeah.
oftentimes is not. North Carolina, in terms of basketball, is not. Football, kind of. But the problem is, if we stay, those resources become more and more unavailable to keep up.
Sure.
So yeah, I'm totally with you on it. I'm not happy about it. There's no way we're going to stop it, because the two power leagues, the power two, they have all the power, and that's the crux of the show tonight. They come out of that meeting, Ryan, and it's the second meeting they've had. The first one was in October, I think. They
Yep.
come out of this meeting and they're saying all the things that are like, oh, well, that's really nice of them. Like, well, we're not going to say anything until we meet with our other colleagues in Dallas.
Yeah.
Right? Man, you've already made up your mind.
Mm-hmm.
And unless, Jim Phillips, spineless Jim Phillips, and Yormark, who is not spineless, but he doesn't have any leverage, unless they acquiesce to exactly what Sankey and Petiti want, they're going to do it anyway.
Yeah, they have to. They're in a corner. Here's I'm going to give hope to those that were doom and gloom when the ESPN ACC contract renewal was in place, and a lot of people saying, well, that's got to be the end of the negotiations are probably going to be over. There's going to be more revenue from the ACC to the bigger schools in the ACC, but we're kind of stuck at least until like 2030. These kind of conversations, at least in my mind, if I was on Florida State's board of trustees, would give me pause to even believe that that would still be a beneficial thing for Florida State. The reason being is Florida State, it sounds great, right? They get more money from ACC, which is what they've been wanting. They are able to have a smoother transition out of the conference because they know, hey, it's a few years away. It all sounds great, but if you factor in the amount of resources that are going to go to these Power 2 leagues, the amount of control that's happening right now in these Power 2 leagues, and they're the decision makers, and the likely outcome of those two conferences representing a vast majority of the teams in the playoff, I can make an argument from FSU's admin side that the best thing, even with a smoother offboarding in 2030, might still be to try to negotiate an early out, even if it's a very expensive out, even earlier than that, because you're gonna inevitably get left behind.
Yeah, there's no doubt about it. There's no way that they're going to be in this league till 2036. It's just not going to happen. So, I mean, the The question is, what is the stomach for how long, right? So, when they re-upped, when ESPN basically said, yeah, we like this really great deal we have where we're paying pennies on the dollar for this league and getting all this content. When that happened, and everybody knew it would happen, there was no way it wasn't going to happen. Um, it just pushed the time a little bit because we're still waiting, Ryan, to find out if there were any, and there must have been, if there were any caveats to that, there were any things that were part of that deal, part of that opting in, and we still haven't heard about that yet. But there's no way, and I agree with you. Part of that is going to be, I believe, that the 2030 thing is going to be a lesser amount to get out of the league. I think that's probably one of the things we're going to hear about at some point. And it's not going to be worth it for Florida State to continue to be 30 million behind, 40 million behind, 50, 60, 70 million behind year after year after year. And I want to throw a message up here or a comment up here real quick. That's not the one I wanted. King Spleen says, I disagree with framing of the ACC being relegated. I solely blame the ACC and its decade-long inept leadership for allowing the conference. Yeah, so
Both can be true.
I mean, relegated because they don't have any clout, right? But yeah, there's a reason they don't have any clout. I totally agree with you here. So I didn't really make my point very clear there.
Yeah, if you're if you're FSU in this case, let's say that the ACC we don't know the numbers yet, but we know that there's talk of a settlement. Let's say it's okay, Florida State. We will reduce your buyout if you want to leave in 2030 to 100 million or 80 million or something like that. If you want out any sooner than that, you're going to pay 200 million. It might still be worth it for Florida State to pay 200 million and call it a day.
Yeah, I mean, we talk about this at work all the time, What is the cost of not making a move?
Yeah.
Right? You have to come to that point and say, yeah, oh, it's going to be expensive. It's going to be expensive to leave. And expensive is a relative term. Is it 80 million? Is it 90 million? I mean, those are all astronomical numbers for you and I.
Mm-hmm.
Right? But for this kind of realm, maybe it's not. But at some point, like, yeah, for 500 million, there ain't no way that's going to happen. But that's going to come down. And at some point, you hit that fulcrum where it's like, okay, now we cannot afford to not spend the money, which is a really weird way of saying that. But it's getting, every month that goes by, every year that goes by, that chasm is going to grow between the haves and the kind of haves. Because I don't want to say have nots, right?
Yeah.
Florida State is not a have not. The ACC is not a have not, but they're not a have. They're a kind of have, right?
Yeah.
Rock and Noel, good to see you tonight, brother. I haven't seen you in a while. Haven't really talked to you. Nice to see you all talking about this. I find it very odd that the local media has completely stopped talking about the lawsuit and conference realignment. I think there's just some fatigue there, and that there's also really there's nothing concrete really to talk about yet, which is perfect for Ryan and I.
Yeah.
That it's not.
Now we did have Doug on 2 weeks ago.
We did, and it was just right when ESPN did the opt-in, right? That's when we had Doug on. But like he said at the time, and we said last week, and we're saying now, that's the last we heard about that. And I know for a fact there are other things that are part of that we have not heard about.
Yeah. One thing I think is interesting to Rock and Noel's point is speculation is fun, right? We can't spend all day on it, but speculation is fun. And when it comes to realignment, it's even more fun because it's your team and you want to see your team get a fair shake. And my take on this whole thing is I don't think any of us, no media outlet, no quote unquote expert, really knows what's going on Florida State's side of the, behind the scenes of the lawsuit. They went from being very aggressive and trying to posture early on to being very quiet. Quiet doesn't always necessarily mean weak. It just means they are keeping it in-house, tight-lipped, behind closed doors because there's a lawsuit going on. Then we find out that North Carolina was actually investing heavily into researching a way out of the conference after complaining that Florida State and Clemson were rocking the boat. Apparently, North Carolina spent $200 million investigating a potential out of the conference. So we knew that they were full of, talking about that. So I just would hate Florida State to be in a position where for the next couple of years you see all this push, and you already see it happening last year in the playoffs, where all these other teams are getting pushed and sometimes nudged across the finish line to get in the playoffs instead of other teams getting a shot to play, or when they do play, being the argument being, see, they shouldn't have been in. I'm tired of that, man. I want to get out of this conference. I know all of you do too. I want to get out of the conference as much as I want all of you to hit the join button while you're watching this broadcast, like about 40 people are right now. So hit the join button, become a member of Garnet Old Show. But I want out of the conference, Vince. There's got to be a number. And I love analogies. And how I feel about this situation right now is your flight just got canceled. And you're at the desk. And the person at the desk says, listen, we have a flight. If you want to leave in 2 days, we'll give you a hotel room. We'll make it nice and comfortable for you to get on that flight. We'll comp you $500 each day. And if you accept that, it'll be a much smoother ramp for you. And you say, okay, what's the alternative? Well, we can get you on a flight in 2 hours, but only first class is left. So it'll cost you $1,000, but you'll get home tonight. Oh, and I'll be in first class. Yes, and you'll be in first class. I mean, first class being a new conference. Is it more financially responsible to wait 2 days and take the free hotel stay and explore a city or something? Sure. But at the end of the day, in the back of your head, when you're in those situations, aren't you like, I just want to get home? And first class doesn't suck. Let's spend the money and just get home. And I think that's how I'm feeling about this Florida State thing. If I'm putting myself in the board of trustees mindset, it's, even if it sucks, guys, let's just go. Like, let's get the hell up out of here, because we already know we have the funds, if need be, from the private equity. We already know the money's there. We could pay it off over a long period of time. And if nothing else, if we leave in 3 years instead of 7, it makes our brand look stronger. We have a better chance of being, on the national stage. Let's just do it. Let's rip the Band-Aid off. And that's what my instinct tells me is happening.
Yeah, it's easy for us to say that. And I know some people on social media and even maybe some people live would say, well, what are you doing to contribute to that money? Like, and I get that. And because, what I donate to the university is a pittance compared to what they're going to have to pay. So, it's easy for me to say, yeah, just, write the check and let's go. But there are other things, it's not just about athletics. I know, heaven forbid that I say that, but, the university's still relatively young, and they're just getting their footing in a lot of areas, and to stroke a check like that is not something they're going to just on a whim do, I guess.
For sure. Yeah.
But I'm wholeheartedly prepared for Florida State to remain in the league until 2030, because I also believe that there are other things we haven't heard about yet.
100%. Yeah.
But if those other things do not exist, then I'm also ready and raring to go to be gone within the next 2 to 3 years. Now, the problem is whether these other places are ready for Florida State at that time.
Yeah, that's
And that's
true.
another thing. It's not like there's a landing bay just waiting for us. And a lot of people believe that that's true. A lot of people believe that
Okay.
as soon as Florida State strokes the check, that the Big Ten is going to say, "Okay, yeah, we're ready. Let's go." I don't believe it works that way. Um, I think there's some other things, and I also know that the Big Ten's deal doesn't come up again till 2030 or 2031, maybe, which is probably the most logical time that you'll see that move happen because of that. And honestly, Ryan, by that time we'll probably be several years into the AAU status for the university as well.
Yeah, I hope so by that point that we would be. But
So let's talk about the things that the Big Ten and the SEC are trying to push for. I know that you've read about them. I've read about them too. They're not happy with the way the seeding has been went on with the college football playoff, the pageant this past year or so. How do you feel about their angst about the seeding of the teams?
listen, even though I know what they're trying to do, I don't blame them for trying to do it. Um, the seeding, I think, no matter how it works out, if someone's going to have a complaint about something, just ever. That's the world, right? Uh, but if I was head of a major university or an athletic director or of the conference of the SEC or the Big Ten, I would probably do anything and everything I could, politic the hell out of it, to try to get the best seating possible for my member institutions. I mean, why wouldn't you? So I think a lot of people, although they might have criticisms of you know the language and how they're going about it, would we do if we were in the SEC or the Big Ten? We would be like, yeah, this is great. Let's like let's get better seating. So I think it's only annoying and it's only frustrating if you are not part of the Big Two.
Well, I will counter that a little bit and say the reason why they have a problem with it is because they deem the conference championships that got buys, the conference champions that got buys as being lesser than their
Mm-hmm.
leagues. So you've got you know Arizona State that won their conference championship and got a first round bye. By the way, was a hair's breadth away from beating Texas,
Yeah,
right? So you can't look at that and say that shouldn't have happened. They deserved that. But what they're basically saying is these other leagues champions, there's no way they should receive a bye, and there's no way that they should be seated higher than our teams because there's no way that they are in the same league as we are.
and to prove that, we're going to add another conference game to improve our resumes. That's the stack on top part. Um, the 9 game conference schedule. But
Yeah. So and yeah, well, it
you're
remains
always
to be
going to
seen
lobby though for
whether.
your conference.
Yeah, you are going to lobby for your conference, and if I let's just hypothetically say Florida State is in the SEC, and we've been in the SEC for a while. Just say we flip flop us in Florida. Me personally, I'm not a conference waiver, and me personally, I've always had a soft spot for teams that, you know, punched above their weight class and deserved things because of the type of effort they put in and the type of seasons they've had. I would not, I'm not going to look at, our commissioner lobbying for 4 automatic bids in a positive light, other than, yes, he should be doing that for our conference, and I get it. But I'm not that guy that says just because I wear that stupid patch on my sleeve that means our fourth best team is better than the conference champion of another league. I've never been that way.
Yeah, and the seeding argument has always bothered me. Like, hey, these they don't deserve it. Okay, what if you're better? Then you shouldn't care. You just beat the snot out of them. Then when you get there, that's always been my counter argument to this whole thing. Is if you're saying that it's not fair, they shouldn't get the bye. They're lesser than. Okay, well, if it's that unbalanced in your opinion, then it should be no problem. You should wipe the floor with them. It shouldn't even be close, right? It would be like just another game like we played in the beginning of September against a no name team. If it's that easy, the problem is that's not true. What they're saying isn't true. Arizona State was 100% on the same field in the playoffs,
Yeah, absolutely was.
and just because one team gets blown out, right? And in the case of SMU,
Oh, I thought you were going
just
to say the Chiefs, the Kansas City
yeah,
Chiefs.
but even like any of these teams that were higher seeded that got blown off the field, it doesn't mean that the next team won't do amazing. So the whole argument was, SMU didn't deserve to be there. Then Arizona State goes out there and says, "Hold my beer." So I'm so sick or tired of viewing these teams, the lesser teams, as if they're all the same and that they'll all get blown out, because it's just not true, and it's never been
It's
true in
not
college
true.
football. It's
It,
never been
it's
true.
it's the same. It's what I was doing all last season on Twitter, on Facebook, whenever anyone would come up with you know, these posts about, so and so would dog walk so and so. Oh, okay, Nostradamus. Like it's all this hypothetical stuff. And you can look back and say, well, the SEC has invariably been the better league or the best league of all the leagues. If you take the last 20 years or so, they were probably the best league in 13 of them.
Take
I'm just
Alabama out,
throwing
and
some
then what do you
numbers
have?
out there,
Yeah,
right? Well, when you have Alabama that's going on the most prolific dynastic run of all time, yeah, you're probably gonna, again, a lot of coat riding there,
mm-hmm.
coattail riding, but that's imagine Jim Phillips going to the mat and saying, "Hey, I think the ACC should get 10 automatic bids to the NCAA tournament because of our history of kicking ass."
It doesn't make
No
sense.
one's going to go for that because right now, and what they would say is, well, currently, recently, uh, the ACC has been, maybe the third best league. So why would we do that? Well, you know what,
History
SEC, the last season wasn't great for you.
just means more, Vince.
I know, but it's just that's the thing is like there's so much in their own fields and they're in their own uh uh what's the word, Ryan?
There's their echo chamber.
It's this echo chamber, this incestuous thing about we're always the best and there's no one that can touch us. It is sickening.
Yeah,
But they have all the power, so it's going to happen. Unfortunately, they're going to get they're going to get 4 automatic bids. They don't deserve them, but they're going to get them. And the Big Ten is going to get them as well, and they don't deserve them either. And what I mean by don't deserve them is they don't like deserve them as the default every year.
yeah. Now,
There
one
may
thing
be years. Go ahead.
I do want to agree with one point of the overall conversations with where we're going, and I told you this I think 3 years ago. I think 16 is the final right number. FYI, I've always felt that way. If we were ever going to do a playoff, first of all, when they announced the 14 playoff, I thought this is a waste of time. Like we might as well just stay with the BCS 2 national championship teams because okay, we've always known Vince. Not a whole lot of difference between ranked team number 1 and 4. So you're going to end up with essentially the same matchups. You won't have a whole lot of Herculean, like, Rocky Balboa knocks out, the underwhelm, the under, what do you call it? I can't even come
Underdog.
up with it. Underdog is able to knock out, With 16, you have enough teams, even with 4 automatic bids, where you're going to get, and it's inevitable in college football. It is inevitable that we will get a random team, a Boise State, an Arizona State, an SMU, win the national championship. I really do believe that. It's inevitable, and I've always thought 16 was the right number because when we look at college football as a whole at the end of the year, like the final top 25 rankings, usually about 15 on the rankings, you're like, pretty good year. Yeah, man, they had a rough patch in the beginning, and then they went undefeated 6-0 the last half. You have a lot of that when you get in that top 15, 16 realm. Usually at 25, you're like, they're 7-6. You know, it's like, they're fine. But I've always thought that 16 team number sounds right because it's about, if I were looking at the teams usually in the top 16 at the end of the year, like, yeah, they're all pretty good. And one of them could have a really good 2-game or 3-game stretch. So I do agree with the final number being 16.
Yeah, I think it's probably going to get there, and then the Big Ten and the SEC will want 5 bids each, and
yeah,
they'll want their bottom team to play a play-in game with the 16th seed. It's crazy, and but how nice of them, Ryan. How nice of them. How nice of Greg Sankey to say, you know what, before we talk about anything, we want to make sure we include all of our other colleagues before we say anything.
You know what this is equivalent to, Vince, what you just said? This is a CEO who has already made a decision that like a policy change is coming. And they start the press conference with, here's what I'm thinking for 2025 and what I'd like to see. But I want to open the floor and I want to hear from all of you. And I want to really get your feedback. And there'll be, let's say, 80% negative feedback on it. And then 2 weeks later, you get an email saying this change is taking effect, in 2 weeks. And you're like, wait a minute, I thought we wanted feedback. And the answer is no, you wanted the optics of feedback. The top dogs already made up their minds, but they want to appear to be generous and altruistic.
And probably, from a political standpoint and probably legally too, they have to be careful that they're not, coming across as colluding, which is what they're doing. I mean, let's just be honest.
I have an idea for me and Vince, by the way.
Hold that thought, Ryan. For those of you that are here right now, we've got looks like 12 people watching on YouTube, 25 on X. You 25 on X. I hear you. I see you. YouTube's not that far away. Go like the video there if you do not mind. Subscribe too, maybe. We're trying to get this plateau, break through the glass ceiling. We need to break through the glass ceiling, Ryan.
Yeah.
So go do that. And right now, actually in about 30 seconds, I'm going to gift 5 memberships to our YouTube channel. And these memberships, there are, how many levels, Ryan? 3, 5? I don't remember.
I think there's 3.
There's 3 levels. You'll be gifted the middle tier level for 30 days, for a month. If you choose to continue on after that, just know that those that money that you're giving to that goes toward Ryan's gold background and his wine subscription. No, that's not true. It goes to just keeping the lights on here. So let me do that right now. I'm going to gift these 5. You got to be on YouTube to get them though. So get on over to YouTube right now. And here we go.
Cooper's Hawk Pinot, for those of you that are wondering. In the meantime, Vince, while you're gifting the memberships, and it's going to be first come, first serve, what say you and me form a Doge for college football where we go and we just start going to the SEC offices and saying, hey, where's all this money going? What are you guys doing over here? That would be fun, huh?
Yeah, that would be fun.
What would we call it?
We'd have to the Department of the Garnet and Old. I don't know. You can't throw that at me so quickly. We've got Carrie Go Noles. Carrie Go Noles. I haven't seen you in a while. Maybe you're just lurking. Welcome. You got gifted a membership. Benjamin Griffin also gifted a membership. Welcome, Benjamin. Doug Sickfoos. What's going on, buddy?
Haven't
You
seen
got one as
Syracuse in a
well.
while.
Darren Thornton gifted a membership. Welcome, Darren. Hot Rod, Roddy Piper, one of my favorites. And John Bennett gifted a membership to Garnet Old.
Mm.
Rock Chalk Jayhawk. How about that?
Speaking of hitting above your weight class, or maybe not so much. Yeah, this year definitely for sure. How about the Florida State men's basketball team?
How about it?
It's all about the U, baby.
Hey, listen, the Wake Forest game, quite the
Hmm.
comeback. You know, it was an epic comeback to win that game, and it was fun to watch, and I loved it. And I'm like, well, maybe got a little momentum going into last weekend because Shannon and I, after our fondue night, we drove over to Tally Saturday morning to go to the basketball game against the Clemson Tigers and got completely annihilated. Not us. The team got
You
annihilated.
should have though.
I should have gotten annihilated. Um, and then we went and had a nice meal at Gordo's. Also not a sponsor, but he might want to be. Um, and then you know how you fix what ails you, Ryan?
A win,
You you play the U,
and all is well. No one
and all
remembers
is
that other
well.
game.
You play the
'Cause-
U because that's what Florida State does. It's just straight up kicking the U's ass, game after game after game.
and when you play the U, doesn't it just feel right to have Jordan Travis and all the boys back in the stands? It just warmed my heart.
Yeah, it was awesome. Jordan Travis was there. Jaron
Probably the
was there.
starting quarterback for the New York Jets this year, by the way.
Probably. Amari Gaynor was there. Trey Benson was there. And I think Peter Warwick was there. I think I saw a shot of Peter Warwick there as well. And
Yeah,
they're also, by the way, those guys, most of those guys are also at the women's game right now. So they're also supporting the women's team tonight. It's happening right now. The women's team is leading 56-46 right now. There's about 4 minutes left in the game right now.
I do have my. I don't know if you have anything else, Vince, but I did have my random topic of discussion that I want to bring up. It's a good one.
We have other sports we have to talk about, but go ahead.
No. I said do yours first,
Hmm.
and then I have a short one, a random topic of discussion.
Okay. Yeah, let's just kind of plow through the rest of the stuff I just wanted to bring up tonight. Yeah, Brett Taylor. Brett Taylor's always given us the golf stuff. Yes, the men's and women's golf teams are phenomenal. Not only do you have team wins, but individuals like ranked number one in the country. I think both on the men's and the women's side. And he's right. The baseball team starting off great. They swept James Madison last weekend. And then they played USF the other night, their first away game, and they won that game. And they've got a series against Penn this weekend.
Yeah.
The softball team.
About on the golf team thing, I posted a GIF the other day on after the sweep on my X. One of my favorite clips of all time. It's George Bush talking very seriously about like the war on terror, and then saying, "Now watch this drive," and he swings the golf club. I don't know if you remember that clip. He's like, "We must
I
end
don't
terror,"
remember that.
and he
Yeah,
goes, and he smiles, and he goes, "Now watch this drive," and he grabs his golf club and swings his drive. But it's a great GIF. It's one of my favorites.
So, the other sports, he's right. Brett Taylor's right. Like, who needs hoops? I mean, we do. I'm not gonna lie. I'm not happy with where the men's team is at. But I also understand that, we're in this kind of weird spot right now. Maybe they're going to announce a coach soon, and then we can maybe start the momentum going toward getting that thing back on track. Because the women's team has got it going on. Tonight, Latson's been hurt the last few games, but they've still been winning most of the games. And then the baseball and the softball teams, man. I mean, hey, did you see, Ryan, that the opening series was like record breaking in terms of crowd?
Yeah, well, I saw pictures of the crowd, but I didn't know what the final number was. I saw it on X, so I didn't know what the
Yeah,
final total was, but it looked good. It looked healthy.
we need to probably try to get over to watch some baseball, Ryan. And I have some inside info on some good games to
We're not
go to
supposed to have
see.
that, Vince.
I do have some on some games to go watch where possibly there might be a special musical guest at the games.
Snoop Dogg.
So, Snoop,
Snoop
yeah,
Dogg.
Snoop Dogg. And as I get more clarification on that, I'll make sure you know. I think it would be fun, Ryan, for us to go and park it there for maybe a couple games, maybe for the whole weekend.
Baseball is the only sport I played 8 years of, and I love baseball. The problem I have with baseball, not college baseball as much, but MLB, too many games in the season, Vince. Too many games. We gotta knock that down.
Guess what, Ryan?
What's that?
Madison Social
I saw that.
doing it doing it right, doing it right again. March 4th is there's a holiday for everything, Ryan.
Yeah,
March 4th is National Marching Band Day because marching forth.
that makes sense.
And
That checks out.
it checks out. And so they have these pint glasses to support the Chiefs. They have a shirt to support the Chiefs. They also have a shirt to support the Marching 100 as well, I think there. So
Yeah,
that's cool. Get in on that. Go see Madso. Go get that. A lot of the proceeds go to the Chiefs. And then I had put this up too. I wanted you to see this because we were talking about this a little bit ago.
I love the picture. Nothing ever makes me smile more than any FSU sport in which there's a downward U. Am I right? It just feels right.
It does feel good, man. It feels like it's the way it should be. And Matthew Cleveland,
Wrong
thank you
decision.
for the couple things you did while you were here, but I'm so happy that you went and did nothing then when you went to the U.
Oh, I forgot to mute on that one. Still have the coffins 3 weeks later, FYI. That's fun.
Yeah, I could tell. Hey, are you
Um,
any closer to the trailer?
to trailer. Which trailer?
The RV. The RV.
Not quite yet. We have to look at a couple things because we want to make sure that we're not we want to pay for most of it, like out of pocket. We don't like not all of it, but a big portion of it. We just got to decide how much. Tax return season is coming in. Ever since we ever since we started withholding extra on both of our ends, we've actually started getting tax returns again. When you get older, folks, and you start making a certain amount of money, it turns out, even if you claim zero, the government says you were wrong. You owe us more. So we've been giving them more. I've been giving me and Kristen both every check, each give $100 extra every check, so that at the end of the year we're never shocked and devastated ever again. It worked out splendid last year, and if it works out splendid this year, that might be something that it goes to.
There's a great, I don't know if it was on Facebook or Twitter or something, but there's this meme about tax season, the IRS in general, basically like, yeah, you owe us money. Well, how much do I owe you? Well, we
I
don't
don't
know.
know.
Well, can you tell us? No, we can't, but well, how do I know? Well, fill out this form. Was this form going to tell me exactly? We're not sure, right? It's
We'll let you
it's
know.
really funny. Hey, we'll know real soon whether we even have to pay taxes anymore because we're not going to have to pay taxes anymore.
500,
We're not
5,000 each.
We're going to get $5,000 each. We're not going to have to pay property taxes in Florida. Apparently, that's coming
So what
too.
I do appreciate about that one, Vince, is that it's not related to necessarily like federal and presidential stuff. The property tax one is feasible, and it does make sense. And just logically, if you were to explain to someone how property taxes work, so when you buy a piece of property, you pay taxes on it on the sale, and they're like, yeah, and then you keep paying taxes, and they're like, yes, on what? Well, it doesn't really belong to you, but it does. I bought it. No, not in reality. So if I buy the land and pay property taxes my whole life, but then when I'm 80, I can't afford them anymore. Oh, we can take it back. And you're like, I don't understand. And they say, neither do we.
They don't understand, and I don't like it. Hey, I don't like paying any taxes, but hey, we're not supposed to get political, Ryan. But I also know that when done correctly, taxes can go toward things that make all of our lives better.
Big, beautiful rocket ships.
Well, and schools.
Yeah.
You
Can I
know,
tell you?
hey, do you want your do you want to get older, Ryan, and have a generation or two of uh, really non-intelligent people?
I would say we're already
Taking care
there,
of you?
being that surveys show that over 50% of the people that graduate high school can't read above the fifth grade level. So I think we passed
As
that
long
bridge.
as long as they can engineer a prompt, I think we're okay.
Yeah, ChatGPT is getting crazy, by the way, and so does Grok. Are you ready for my random topic of discussion, Vince? Because we got
Yeah,
10 minutes.
I thought taxes was the random
No,
topic.
I don't. Because here's the thing: I am a guy who I've always believed there should be a flat tax, a flat sales tax, a higher sales tax, no federal income, no none of that. I think there should just be a very high sales tax, meaning that if you're rich and you buy yachts, that yacht's going to be very expensive because it's a 30% sales tax, and if you are just buying soda, 30% isn't that much. It's equal to what you're actually buying, and I always thought
I
that
get
would
it.
be a great
I
idea.
get it.
But that's more of a
All right, let's go.
libertarian view.
What do you
This is a
think,
great one
everybody?
because
What do you think? What do you think the topic's going to be? Here we
this is a
go.
good one. It leads into a Florida State topic in the end. Uh, Dog shopping. Uh, I thought car shopping was bad. Now I've had dogs my whole life, Vince. You know my sweet girl Gypsy, Great Dane, died last year. I needed some time to let it simmer, but now I'm working remote. We have our house, everything's settled down, normalcy, right? So you're like, I think I'm ready. I think, and so you're like, okay, first thing I'm going to do because I believe in like helping out dogs is you go to the animal shelter or your local county one, all pit bull mixes, the whole thing, and you're like, if I owned my home and didn't have to worry about homeowners insurance, then that would be fine. But I rent a place and they don't allow aggressive breeds, so like pit bull mixes immediately, it's like they won't approve anyway, so I can't even consider them. So you just put a big X over the animal shelter, unless you get really lucky with like a once in a lifetime dog. Which Gypsy, by the way, my dog, my Great Dane, randomly showed up at an animal hospital one day. I was checking the site every day, and she was the only non-pit breed in like 6 weeks. Like it was ridiculous. So then you're like, what are my other options? Right? You have two other options. You can go to one of these puppy mill type like breeders, right? The big boys out there, and hey, Boston Terrier, $2,000, and you get the form and everything. However, and I agree with my wife on this one. Purebred puppies, a lot of health conditions because pure breeding over time turns out not the greatest for health. And so, what that leaves you with, if you're
Not
in
just
my
dogs, by the
position,
way.
yeah, what that leaves you with is local people who have like local rescues or local breeding, right? But some of them are absolute. Vince, I can tell you, I've gotten dogs, I've gotten animals my whole life. I found a place and a dog we wanted, Vince. Perfect dog. Okay. Lab mixed with a shepherd. Beautiful. $350, reasonable, right? $350. It's expensive, but it's not like a purebred or anything. There are requirements, Vince. Here's what you have to do. You have to give them 5 years of residency information. You have to give them pictures of your front and backyard. You have to measure your fence to tell them how tall it is. You have to prove that your income history. You have to provide them direct contact for someone at your rental place to make sure that they can get dog, all this stuff. And then they asked me, Vince, to provide them Gypsy, who's dead. Who is her vet? Where did she get boarded? They have to contact them and get all her records to make sure that she was actually well taken care of. And in my mind, I'm thinking, what if I just never brought up that I ever had a dog before? I should have. I was being honest on the form.
Mm-hmm.
But now, and I'm just like, guys, we have animals out there. I understand protecting the animal. I'm a big guy. Like, I hate people who abuse animals. I will call the police on someone who's abusing an animal. I hate it. but don't make it so red tape where it's like, come to my house. I don't care what you have to do. How about you not like ask for my tax history and want proof of my dead dog's shot records? It just is odd. It just came off to me as odd. Here's what I think, Vince, and I'm going to redo the dog industry right here. All right, ask for your what's your situation? Prove your rental agreement or whatever it is, or your house that you own. Come meet the dog. Whoever's in the house has to meet the dog, and then make either a site visit where they come out and just make sure it's a safe living environment, or pick like general like, hey, are you ask questions to the person? Are you able to do this and this and this? That's normal, but it's making it miserable. So frustrating that I'm like, these dogs want to be rescued. And I'm trying to. I want to give you money. And you're like, I don't know. I'm like, I owned my dog for 10 years. Anyone who knows me knows that dog traveled with me everywhere and was like my best friend. I'm not abusing. So it's just overcomplicated. But here's where we're going to end on this topic. I hope everyone agrees with me on the dog shopping thing. It's miserable. But I want for a female and male, I want ideas. Florida State-based dog names. Easier for males, right? Because it's like Tomahawk or Bowden or something like that. What's some good female Florida State dog names, Vince? Do you have any ideas?
Let's see. Female. When we had a female dog, we named her Chief. So we didn't care that it was maybe more of a male type name. We didn't care about that.
I thought of Renegade.
Sure.
But I want something that's like not too easy. You know, like Jameis Winston or something like that, you know? Something clever.
Famous Jameis. What about Garnet?
Garnet is good. Or I was even thinking of street names around the campus. Like,
oh, yeah.
So if you guys have any ideas, though, shoot them my way on X, at Big Papa East. Because we're going to get a dog despite red tape. I'm hoping this place that we found this dog, by the way, not Vince, I'll send you a picture of the dog we're looking at after the show. But in the next 2-3 weeks, we'll probably have one. But it's just miserable. Why do they got to make it so hard? We just want a dog to love.
Yeah, I mean, obviously that whole process, that crazy process that is just adding steps to the process for no reason whatsoever, happened for a reason. They apparently let some dogs go to some people that didn't care for them the right way, and they totally, overcompensated for it. You're right. It shouldn't be that difficult. It should be pretty easy.
The pound is perfect. They ask you basic questions. They make sure that you're not a crackhead, and you go among.
And by the way, both of my dogs that we had Chief, was we just some family's dog had a litter. we went and saw her. She was the last one. And we got her, and she was free, other than, the shots and all the stuff you got to do. And then, she passed away of cancer a number of years ago. And we got Cooper. Cooper.
Cooper, still hanging on.
So Chief, female, really, really great dog. And Cooper,
or was it already
anymore? So Cooper can't hear me talking about Chief, so he won't get jealous. But
did you name Cooper, or was it already named Cooper?
No, Cooper's name. So interesting. This rescue place, the whole litter, they name litters after movie characters. So Cooper's litter was named after all of the Ice Age movie.
Okay.
So you had one of the dogs' name was Manny, and one of the Cooper was Diego. That was his birth name. And so when we renamed him, the girls named him. His name is Cooper Diego. That's his middle name, Cooper
Yeah.
Diego. He's 14. He cannot hear too well, cannot see too well. His hips are going.
Very lovable though.
But he's my buddy. He's my buddy. And he was, other than, like I said, we might have paid like an application fee of like $60 or something like that. But we didn't have to go through all these hoops like you're talking about. Hey, everybody, follow us on X if you don't mind. I'm also on Blue Sky. If you're on Blue Sky, also there. And follow Ryan, Big Papa East. Follow the Garnet Old at as well. We really appreciate it. And things are really starting to get crazy with baseball season starting and softball season starting, and a lot going on.
A lot going on.
Don't forget about the Great Give, March 5th.
March 5th, the March to Remember. Everyone screw ESPN eternally, by the way. Some inside info, because Vince had some tonight. No contacts, no problem. And
everybody, March 5th, Great Give. Point it toward the Chiefs if you can, if you have a heart for it. And also, don't forget about the Coaches Club for the Chiefs, so we can send Chiefs all the damn time.
Go Noles, everyone. Have a great night.